negotiating with Outcount Rudolvon, Mia secured both Cyril's education under her patronage and the Rudolvons with reserves to be distributed in her name during famine. After Mia returned from traveling tirelessly to promote her new school, something shocking happened. The bloodstained diary guiding her away from the guillotine vanished, its pages turning blank. Realizing this meant her death had been averted, Mia celebrated with unrestrained joy. Back at Saint Noel Academy, she enjoyed a wave of goodwill, until Anne burst in with alarming news of a revolution. It turned out not to be in Tearmoon, but in the Kingdom of Remno. Mia, initially determined to avoid involvement, found her thoughts drifting to Prince Abel. Surrounded by expectant faces, she made her first true choice, free of the diary's influence: go to him. Though it's purely strategic. Not because she cares of anything.
Will you help me? Mia said in a soft voice. It was a heartfelt wish of a girl who is touted as the wisdom of the Empire. Normally, that is a wish that should be denied for its ludicrous nature. But easier said than done, Princess Mia. The Kingdom of Remno is currently on high alert. If you're going to take your guards, you could be suspected of aggression. If you really want to get into Remno, you'll have to fake your status to go in secretly. That's right. As things stand, any nobility from foreign countries will not be able to cross the border. We need to plan some strategy. I see. I wonder what we can do about it. None of the people gathered there denied Mia's wishes. With serious looks, they accepted Mia's wish and put their heads together to make it come true. No one questioned the viability of her idea. They skipped the whats and whys, jumping directly to how it could be accomplished, as though helping Mia was a foregone conclusion. In an overwhelming, desperate situation, they happened upon a ray of hope. Mia might be incompetent, but the people she was surrounded herself with were anything but. When the Mia Brigade was on the job, problems didn't stand a chance. To everyone's surprise, the first person to voice out a solution came from an unassuming member of the group. Everyone turned toward the source of the voice. Putting down her quivering hand, clearly intimidated, Chloe flinched when all the eyes of the group were on her. She realized how regal the group was. Our company caravan, are headed to Remno. So, what if you go with them? Carts, you say? I see. That could work. If you enter the country disguised as a merchant, then you might be able to enter secretly. Plus, you'll avoid pissing off anyone you run into. At least, it will be much easier to move this way compared to entering the country as a royal family of another country or an unidentified suspicious person. Kidwood's expression began to brighten. Looks like we have a plan. In that case, I'll go too. Wait, what? Kidwood turned around upon hearing his master's words. Of course, Kidwood has a positive impression of Mia, and he didn't exactly hate the idea of doing something to help her. With Sion's permission, he even thought he could accompany her on her journey. That's why he even told her about the situation in Remno. Heck, he was secretly looking forward to lending her his strength. While definitely not at the same level as Ludwig or Anne, he looked up to Mia as if she's a celebrity. However, if Sion himself says he will go to the danger zone, he has no choice but to oppose it. Milord, I'll beg you to reconsider. Think about your position. You're the Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Songland. Due to the uprising of the people, the Crown Prince of Songland does not have any business being there. In fact, it might just even trigger a diplomatic and political problem. Basically, Sion is a person who prioritizes the future of his own country over his own selfishness. Naturally, Kidwood thought he would listen to what he said. After all, Sion always places the future of the own kingdom above his own wishes, and he is one to value sound arguments. Or rather, almost always. So you've said, Kidwood, and that's exactly why I'll accompany her. What do you mean? I don't think a good king only needs to be brave. I can rule the country with just a sword, but at the same, a craven king cannot rule Songland. Don't you agree? Yes, I think you're right, but Kidwood knew Sion's oratory skills. He has heard him debate others before. but this is the first time that Sion was using his skills against him. Now, he had a bad feeling that he would be persuaded by him no matter what. Suppose, for the sake of argument, there was a princess of a large kingdom whose rank and power is similar to mine, and this princess, out of concern for the safety of a fellow classmate, chooses to bravely go into a dangerous land. And this princess, mind you, doesn't even know how to defend herself. Faced with the resolve of this theoretical princess, how do you think it would be reflected in my image if I hesitate to join her quest? It wasn't exactly nonsense. Sion's exaggerated oratory showcase aside, he had a point. Being a prince of a large kingdom, he has a lot of political enemies who could not wait to smear dirt on him. It was then necessary for him to behave in a way that would benefit his reputation. I guess it's my loss. Damn it. It can be helped then. Of course, I will accompany you. But I also must contact intelligence officers hiding in the Kingdom of Remno. Fortunately, they had allies in the Kingdom of Remno. The result of long years of tireless groundwork by Songland's dedicated intelligence agency, which had established a skill spy network in several countries. It can be said to represent the foresight of the King of Sunland, who recognized the importance of information warfare from an early stage. Information on the popular uprising in the Kingdom of Remno also came in through the intelligence agency. Back home, there should already be a military debate on whether to intervene. This is great and all, but for the sun's sake, still doesn't make it okay for a crown prince to walk into a potentially enemy territory. Kid would rub his temples as he felt a familiar sensation creeping up on him. It was an old friend, and it was Kalaheric. Mia-sama, I will accompany you too. Following Sion, Tiona voiced out as well. She dabbled in swordsmanship. Although her skill is not that of an expert level, she's capable of giving bandits a run for their money. If anything, she's stronger than Mia. Since they were not going to be able to bring any Imperial Guards with them, having more than one person who could handle themselves in a fight was not a bad proposition. Mia just silently bowed her head deeply out of thankfulness. She decided to accept their kindness. Then, there was the third voice. I will go too. Please take me. Mia looked at the final speaker and, to her dismay, found that she couldn't accept this last speaker volunteering. Mia-sama? May I? I'm sorry, Anne. I can let you come with me. Of course, if Anne comes with her, she'll take care of everything around her. She would be grateful, but still, she couldn't bring Anne with her. The reason is very simple. It is because Anne can't ride a horse. For example, let's suppose Mia takes Anne and danger appears. Supposing there were horses, the easiest way out would be to ride them. The strongest horse would be carrying 2 people, but that would still slow them down. Or even worse, that horse would be taken down first. If it was any other servant, Mia wouldn't probably mind. But this was Anne. She was indebted to her. She didn't want, nor did she choose to put her into any danger. Mia wanted to return her loyalty with sincerity and kindness. You can't ride a horse. The place we're going is very dangerous. You will slow us down. But, Mia-sama, Tears welled up in Anne's eyes. She began sniffling, grief evident in her voice. Oh, don't cry, Anne. It's okay. I'll definitely be back. So, can I trust you to hold down the fort while I'm gone? You'll stay here and do your job well, okay? She held Anne's gaze, letting her eyes do the rest of the talking. After all, once she is back, she'll surely want a cup of tea, or maybe she might be exhausted and want to dive into the bed right away. Or she might want to take a bath to her heart's content. For all these, she needed Anne. It's an important job to keep up with the demands of Mia once she makes it back. It was of course more consolation than honest need. Spoken primarily to ease Anne's misery, alas, she might have let too much of her true motivation slip. Despite her words of comfort, Anne's expression never brightened. Anne watches Mia and her newly recruited co-conspirators left one after another to make preparations for their planned infiltration to Remno. Soon, she felt as if she was the only one left in the room. There she stood, staring blankly at the door as it closed for the last time. A heavy silence followed. Wait. I become a burden for Miya-sama. Just because I can't. She looked down at the ground. Soon a steady patter began to echo in the room. Tears of frustration streamed down her cheeks, accumulating in a small puddle on the floor. Mia had pushed her away. She made it clear that her inability to ride a horse would make her a burden to everyone. It was blunt and harsh, and, worst of all, very kind. She was not stupid. She knew Mia was doing this to ease her conscience. Her beloved mistress did not think twice about trading their friendship for her safety. She couldn't do anything about it. She understood everything. But this did not ease the hurt she feels. Compose yourself, Miss Anne. Anne was suddenly shocked upon hearing a dignified voice. She turned and saw Rafina observing her with a quiet expression. Rafina-sama? Do you think this is the time and place to be depressed? But I feel so worthless. If I could ride a horse, then I would. What are you to Mia? Huh? I'm Mia's exclusive maid. Wrong. Did you forget how Mia introduced you to me before? Mia said you were her confidant and right arm. The words shocked Anne as if she had been struck by lightning. Mia was telling you to do your job. Is that job standing there feeling sorry for yourself? My job? Yes, your job. Something only Mia's right arm can do. What comes to your mind? For a while, Anne said nothing. Then she bowed and left the room. Rafina watched as Anne walked out of the door with her back straighter than it was a few minutes ago. Thus, the maid returned to being behind the scenes. Anne acted immediately, leaving the academy a mere day after Mia and her crew. Having realized what it was that she must do, she held it close to her heart, allowing it to fill her with resolve as she set out for her destination, the Tearmoon Empire. Her unwavering loyalty would ultimately drop the Empire's strongest piece on the board. And so, with the Kingdom of Remno as the board, a conspiracy drama is about to unfold. With the White Queen and her friends attempt to rescue the Knight at the Black Camp, will they be able to rescue Prince Abel? The game is in motion, its outcome still undecided. What the future holds is anyone's guess. This would normally call for a cliffhanger, but we're not even in the halfway mark of the video, so the final arc of the Guillotine Princess, the Remno Revolution, starts now. A string of carts rolled through town on the outskirts of the Holy Principality of Beluga. They bore various goods that Fork Road and Co. intended to sell, along with 4 larger items that were definitely not intended for sale. Mia and her 3 co-conspirators were hidden in the back of one of the carts. 3 days had passed since they had joined the caravan, and a stifling silence had descended upon the group. Mia stared wordlessly at the floor of the cart, her face a little pale. She was sitting with her knees held tight against her chest, and dressed in a riding blouse and easy-to-move shorts, but that function was limited at the moment. Occasionally, she would let out a thin sigh, causing Tiona to frown anxiously. Mia-sama, I'm sure she's very worried. Tiona tried to think what Mia was going through. Prince Abel, her sweetheart, could be in a dangerous situation. Thus of him probably filled her heart with grief and anxiety. I must protect Mia and take her to Prince Abel. Tiona squeezed the hilt of the thin sword at her waist. Prince Abel, please be safe. She closed her eyes and mouthed a silent prayer. Kirwood, on the other hand, had a different perspective. Well now, this is interesting. Even the great Princess Mia cannot escape nervousness. The land they are heading to, the Kingdom of Remno, is a dangerous territory. Although public security is still maintained overall, the areas with active revolts pose an undeniable risk to their safety. It is quite possible that their anger at the Remno royal family could be transferred into royalty and nobles from other countries. If their status is revealed, they could be in real danger. Mia surely knows about this. After all, she's the wisdom of the Empire. This would surely not escape her notice, right? I have to give her credit. She's not just smart, but she knows how to be courageous at the right time. He pursed his lips thoughtfully as he studied her, growing increasingly aware that some part of him wouldn't mind seeing a union between Mia and his master. But let's switch the perspective to the person in question and find out what Mia was thinking about. I don't feel so good. She was just card sick. Actually, she had a very bad case of card sickness. In the first place, Mia has only traveled on high-class carriage for the imperial family, which were works of exceptional craftsmanship. She was accustomed to riding a carriage that pursued ride quality and comfort. Of course, she had never ridden a merchant's wagon before, but her butt hurts from the hard wooden floor, and it doesn't help that they are traveling at an unforgiving bumpy road as well. Every so often, she'd let out quick breaths to quell her nausea. But she couldn't let her guard down because she could already taste something sweet and sour coming up from her stomach to her throat. She knew it was bad manners to give her friends the silent treatment after what they were doing for her. However, every time she wanted to start a conversation, her queasiness would also start, and her head would start spinning. If I open my mouth, I might just bump. She could not say it out loud either. Nauseated or not, she still had her pride as a princess. So Mia kept her head down and endured, desperately fighting the urge to empty the contents of her stomach into the wagon floor. At no point in time did issues such as their identities being exposed to the rebelling masses cross her mind. It didn't even register to her that this would be a problem. She was worried about Abel, of course, but her coping mechanism for this was to not think about it in the first place. It should be okay. When I was captured, it took a while before they killed me. We'll make it in time. Despite this rationalization, she couldn't help but hope for Abel's safety. For a brief moment, she looked up, aiming a tragic maiden's prayer at the sky, only for her to swallow it back down as another wave of nausea threatened to send more than just a prayer out of her mouth. I'm feeling even worse. I might be reaching my limit soon. We're about to cross the border. Everyone, let's do our best, said Sion, who had gone to the driver's box to take a look around. The first barrier to reaching Prince Abel was the border. According to the information obtained in advance, the Kingdom of Remno is currently on high alert. Except for a few selected merchants, people from other countries are strictly restricted from entering and exiting. Not that I'm surprised, but it makes sense, of course. The neighboring countries will send people to take advantage of the civil war. They might send help to both factions now, so that they can ask for favors later in the future. Or they might use this chaos to attempt a coup. The Kingdom of Remno military strength also makes them an especially attractive target. It wouldn't be surprising for any rulers to take advantage of this disorder to weaken them. Kidwood and Tiona nodded to Sion's words. Mia was vaguely gazing at them. I wonder if they were doing the same thing when the Empire went through the revolution. Still, I have to admit that this is going more smoothly than I expected. Miss Chloe's strategy has been brilliant. Besides, the road formulated by our hidden intelligence unit... Kidwood trailed off and tilted his head a little with a frown. Bandits! They're attacking us! Bandits? This is strange. A caravan of this size shouldn't. The Fork Road Company's caravan is relatively large, consisting of 10 carriages. Of course, at this scale, a private mercenary corps accompanied as guards. This means that the bandits were taking great risk. Even if the public order is bad at the moment, this whole attack seems very suspicious. Sion and Kidwood stood up at the same time. Princess Mia, over here! What? A sudden tug on her arm sent her stumbling toward the front of the wagon. She caught herself in time and swallowed hard, just barely managing to avoid a gastrological disaster. What was that for? She was about to shout further outrage at the impertinent tugger of her arm, only for the words to catch in her throat when she looked up to find Cian, his lips tied and his eyes hard. He was staring past her. She followed his gaze and turned around. Who? The wagon cover was flipped and a man stepped in. He was dressed in black from the top of his head to his toes. He looked at the four people and then pulled a sword from his waist. It looked a little shorter than a nice standard sword. A bandit? Good grief. Not one for manners, are you? Look, you're scaring the ladies. The next instant, Kidwood was halfway across the wagon, sword in hand. His sudden lunge was accompanied by a sharp thrust. His aim was the enemy's dominant arm. There was a clang as the metal met metal and Kidwood's sword strayed from its pad. He grimaced and hopped backwards as his enemy's blade clipped the air an inch away from his face, only to kick the floor as he landed, propelling himself forward for a second thrust. His offbeat assault continued, striking at his opponent with a syncopated rhythm that threw off the regular timing of bladed exchanges. The black-garbed man, however, was no slouch and deftly parried his attacks left and right. Their blades danced around each other in sharp arcs that cut straight through the canvas of the wagon, and the shredded fabric began fluttering wildly in the wind. You're able to top my attacks, huh? Milord, be careful. It looks like he's not an ordinary bandit. Agreed. His movements are not that of an amateur. Who are you? An assassin? Well, I mean, if he was, he would not give you his name, so... Whoa! The garbed man's short sword lashed out again as they traded quips. Kidwood caught the incoming blade and traded blows while backing up. His steps were smooth and deliberate, flowing from one to the next in a graceful sequence that seemed more like a dance than a battle. Interrupting people while they're talking? You assassins sure are rude. Kidwood's provocation had little effect on the man, who continued to gradually narrow the distance. Trying to close a gap, huh? You can play that game. This time Kidwood went on the offensive, employing a style that eschewed wide swings in favor of thrusting strikes. He was unimpeded by the confined space of the wagon. Each attack, even if blocked, would flow smoothly to the next, creating a perfect chain that, though unable to deal a fatal blow, was more than enough to keep the man busy. As he continued his barrage, he began to frown. Something's not right. This guy has a lot of skill, but he knows that he will not be winning. So why isn't he leaving? What is he playing at? Wait. Bloody sons! Milord, he has backup! Before he could conclude his sentence, the swoosh of multiple swords finished cutting into the damaged canvas of the wagon, leaving it in tatters as two additional men jumped to the front of the wagon. We're trapped! Mia desperately looked around for a way to escape to no avail. No matter how strong Cian was, even he couldn't handle two people at once. Suddenly, a feeling of real danger that she had not felt for a long time started creeping up. The primal fear of death. On the verge of tears, she whimpered and looked at the prince, whose expression could only be described as the polar opposite of hers. Wow, you people sure went to a lot of trouble just to trap a few kids on a wagon. Calmly, he turned toward the newcomers. He pulled out his sword in a dignified and majestic manner, staring at the two flanking assailants with a glare, brandishing not the sword in his hand, but the blade in his eyes. A murderer's aura was released. Mia felt it on her skin, her eyes widening in recognition, for she knew this sensation well. It was the daily aura Cian gave off when he was looking at someone he had decided to kill. In the previous timeline, that glare was aimed at me. She looked at his intrepid figure and felt reassured. After all, the power that once threatened her is now being used to protect her. Somehow, Mia's confidence in Cian was growing. Phew! It looks like we'll be fine. Thank the moons for Prince Cian. I'm sure he has defeated many bandits before. Mia was starting to be optimistic. The gravity of the situation began to fade. She was even considering cheering on him as if she was watching a sports match. Alright. Which one of you gentlemen would like the honor to be the first victim of my blade? Yeah, let's go, Cian. Wait, what? First? Her anxiety immediately returned. Okay. Maybe I should watch this from a safer distance, just in case. She began crawling toward the edge of the wagon on her hands and knees. Just then, one of the wheels hit an uneven patch of ground and the whole wagon bounced up in the air. Eh? A strange sequence of sensations followed. First, there was a brief period of weightlessness. Then, she felt a slap of fabric against her back. Finally, there was a blunt impact to her side, followed by the dizzying feeling of rolling. The wagon was just crossing a large river along the border. When she opened her eyes, she found herself diving toward a carpet of water so vast it looked like an ocean. Powerful currents surged through it, throwing up large sprays as they crashed loudly past any obstacles in their path. Yeah! Damn it! Princess Mia, I'm coming! As she let out a rather undignified scream, she heard the panicked voice of Cian before she plunged into the watery depths. And so, the princess and prince of the two great powers disappeared into the strong torrents of the river. There was another brief moment of weightlessness. Then, immediately after, the sting of cold water. Having fallen headfirst into the river, Mia's life was saved thanks to the depth of it. For like 1 second, as she was about to be killed by that very same depth. Mia, you see, can't swim, which is a shame because as of right now, swimming seems a far more important skill than horse riding. But I digress. It's not her fault. She had hardly been to any deep bodies of water in her 2 lifetimes, and so she had no idea how to handle herself. Swimming was never a part of Tearmoon culture. She might love bathing in large pools, but it did not earn her the ability to stay afloat. Now, the pedantic might claim that it is not technically possible to conclude with absolute certainty that someone can't swim when an emergency arises. Who knows? They might have a natural talent. This possibility, however, was quickly disapproved, as Princess Mia was... While spitting bubbles from her mouth, the powerful torrents pulled Mia's body deeper into the bottom. She couldn't breathe and her chest became painful. Her eyesight began to falter. This is really bad. Mia couldn't figure out which way was up or down, as she kept sinking and being swept by the torrent. The world spun. Her head spun. Her eyes spun too. Already fatigued from the ordeal in the wagon, she belched out her final breath of air as she reached her limit. So this is it, huh? I'm dying here. At least, this time, it's not at the guillotine. She felt a little bit better thinking about this. What was left behind was a sad, sweet and sour, slightly bitter aftertaste as her consciousness sank into the darkness. It's Mia! Hey, come on! Wake up! Princess Mia! She heard a voice calling her from somewhere far away. Next, the feeling of her body being shaken, followed with a few slaps to her cheeks. There was a sourness in her mouth, but everything felt as if everything was so far away, as though her senses were being pulled out by a thick blanket. Where am I? With all the energy she could muster, she tried to open her eyes. It wasn't easy, but she managed. There, mere inches away from her face, she saw Prince Cian's dashing face. Prince Cian? What is he? Vaguely hazy thoughts came into her mind about something Anne told her before. Is this... Anne told me about one of Ellie's stories. About saving people who drowned. By breathing air in through them through keys? She was slow on the uptake, but the current reality was starting to catch up. I remember saying that it was so indecent, but even then, I actually thought it could be romantic and... Oh, does this mean that Prince Cian is going to kiss me? But this is going to be my first kiss, and I want to save it for Prince Abel. Mia was very confused by the situation right now. This was the first time in both lifetimes happening, and to think it will be with her arch nemesis Prince Cian. Oh, Prince Abel, please forgive me, but, well, this situation is a little nice, isn't it? This can be helped, even if my heart is pounding a little. I guess anyone's heart would be pounding in a situation like this. It's not really my fault. This is beyond my control, isn't it? Yes, of course it is. With her conscience cleared, Mia closed her eyes tightly and waited for the inevitable, but not before spitting out some water that had been slushing around in her mouth. It tasted bitter, and it seemed a tad inappropriate to have water in her mouth for such an event. And so, she spit it out. The next thing she knew, her face had been turned to the side. Huh? Oh my, how odd. Why sideways? Before she could manage another thought, something touched her lips. Her mind squeaked in surprise by the sensation, which, on second thought, wasn't exactly what she was expecting. The source of the sensation was, well, something parted her lips, pushed past her teeth, and wriggled its way into her mouth, and the texture was coarser than she imagined. Oh, what on earth is this? Then, without warning, it prodded the back of her throat. Blah! Mia made a decidedly unromantic sound and forcibly woke herself up. Frequently asked questions about Songland-style artificial respiration. What if the victim vomits? If a drowned person vomits, turn the person's head to the side immediately. After that, scrape off the foreign matter with your fingers to clean the inside of the mouth. And then continue artificial respiration. So, as a result of Cian's slightly clumsy but perfectly appropriate treatment, Mia managed to hold on to her first kiss. Good for her. Teary-eyed and hunched of all fours, Mia threw up so many mouthfuls of water before her cough fit subsided and she glanced up, pallid and hollow-eyed. Oh, praise the sun. You're breathing again. I thought I was gonna die. Yes, that torrent we got into. That was certainly dangerous. Not the torrent! I meant you! You and the finger you stuck in the back of my throat. Did you really have to make a lady make that sound? So embarrassing. In reality, Mia was even more embarrassed because her mind was full of dirty thoughts earlier. But at the end of the day, Cian saved her life. The least she could do was to let it go. Thank you for your help, Prince Cian. It's a little bit early to thank me. Where are we? Based on the map I saw before, downstream from where we fell, my best guess is that we are in the northwestern part of the Kingdom of Remno. I see. We did it then. We're in the Kingdom of Remno. Indeed. We were able to get in, but this location is pretty bad. I think it's quite a distance from the royal capital, and to cross back to the border, we need to cross against this river, and Mia followed the direction of his gaze. Looming in the distance was the jagged contour of a mountain that now blocked their way to the border. This is it for this video. We will continue with the story of the Guillotine Princess in the next episode. Matane!